Hello, everyone. My name is Yukiko Yamamoto from Tokyo University and Graduate School of Social Welfare. Today, I'm going to present a paper titled ICT Implementation and Factor Related to Transformational Leadership, a case of Mongolian primary school. Here is the outline of this presentation. Let's start from the background of this study. Over the past decade, our way of accessing, organizing, and sharing knowledge has changed dramatically using ICT, and it has been a great tool for social development. This phenomenon has been seen in the International Development Goals, both MDGs and SDGs. ICT also has influenced the way of teaching and learning because it can improve the educational outcomes. One of them is an improvement of quality of teaching and learning. This trend is no exception in Mongolia. Series of policy were developed as a nation's strategy, and education has placed as a target sector of achieving efficient ICT integration. ICT development was found in other places such as Internet subscription or ICT Development Index. However, the environment for fully utilizing the ICT for teaching has not completely been put in place yet. The purpose of this study is to find the relationship between ICT implementation at school level and school leadership factor related to transformational leadership. This study is especially meaningful in Mongolian context. While majority study is still focusing on external factors such as policies or infrastructure, this study is focusing on internal factor for promoting ICT, which in this case is uh, school leaders' perceptions. Also, there are only limited research on school leadership for ICT implementation, even though school leaders have strong influence on likelihood of educational change. Then, why school leadership is important in ICT implementation? Previous study found that leadership is a critical factor for educational change because 1. School leader can take responsibility in initiating and implementing changes and facilitate complex decisions. And 2. School leader plays important roles in teachers' motivation, which can be a moderator of the changes in the practice. Therefore, when and if school leaders support the ICT strategies, the implementation in school is more effective. So in this study, we look at the school leaders' perception on ICT implementation at school level because theoretically, school leaders' perception can be reflected to the vision for ICT integrated education, and that will affect to teachers' commitment. As a result, it can bring about the changes in practice. The leadership theory, which mainly top-down leadership, were emerged in early 80s, but in 90s, the focus was shifted to more bottom-up approach such as transformational leadership. This study pays close attention to the leadership factors related to transformational leadership because it is considered to be a desirable leadership style to promote ICT. Then, what is a transformational leadership? Transformation leaders aim to develop capacity of followers and organization to promote innovations. More specifically, transformational leaders inspire and empower followers and enable them to be self-motivated to work for improvement without specific instruction. Transformational leader is often described in four components. By making use of these components of the leadership, transformational leaders achieve educational changes. Let me explain a little bit more about these components. First, transformational leaders have charisma or idealized influence. They provide a sense of mission by being role model, generating awareness, and demonstrating high moral standards. Charismatic leaders have great power and influence to followers because followers have high levels of trust, faith, respect, and confidence in them. Second, Transformational leaders inspire followers by articulating visions. They have strong communication skills to make followers to feel purpose and meaning of the tasks in shared goals. They also foster a spirit of teamwork and commitment, and focusing on best in people. Third, transformational leaders stimulate followers intellectually. They try to develop followers' capacity by enabling them to see new way of looking at old problems. For instance, they help followers to question assumptions and to generate more creative solutions. Transformational leaders encourage innovation by motivating followers. Fourth, transformational leaders consider individuals. They pay close attention to the differences in needs and the interests of the followers. This is a research question we asked. Here's how we examined. The quantitative data was retrieved from baseline survey, which was conducted in 2012 to 13. Stratified sampling was employed. The country was divided in four different geographical regions and Ulaanbaatar city to cover various characteristics of the countries. And one province from each region was selected. For the Ulaanbaatar city, two districts were included to this study. The questionnaires were distributed through local education department. 222 school leaders responded to the questionnaire, which account for more than 15% of the primary education administrators in Mongolia. In order to measure the extent of ICT implementation, two aspects of school leaders' perception were looked at. First one is perceived use of digital contents in classroom teaching by teachers, and second one is perceived funding allocation for ICT related training. First research question is related to ICT use in classroom teaching. This measure is meaningful because it illustrates depth of the ICT implementation at school level. Two specific question items are utilized for the analysis. We also look at the perceived funding allocation for ICT training because previous study found that funding is one of the main factors to integrate technology successfully. Three question items were used. The extent of ICT implementation at school were obtained on a 4-point Likert scale with the higher score indicating more perceived ICT implementation at school level. The question item of each aspect are consolidated for further analysis. In order to examine the leadership factors, the questionnaire was carefully reviewed reflecting transformational leadership theory. As a result, 12 question items associated with the four components of the transformational leadership were selected. Therefore, here are the measures we used. For the data analysis, the pairwise correlation coefficient was calculated to assess the relationship. Before getting into the result of the findings, here is a summary of the descriptive result to give you a feel of the samples. Here is the highlight of the result. For the use of ICT in classroom teaching, overall, all the factors related to four components of transformational leadership are significantly related to the leader's perceived ICT use in classroom teaching. Charisma or idealized influence are significant, but this was the weaker component compared to others. Inspiring motivation are moderately significant. Intellectual stimulation was the strongest correlation in four components. Having a discussion with teacher about pedagogical use of ICT was a strong degree. Individual consideration was moderately significant. For the funding allocation for ICT training, 10 out of 12 question items are statistically significant in modest to moderate degree. Two of the strongest correlations were found in charisma or idealized influence component. For the inspiring motivation, merely sharing digital content among teachers are not statistically related. Intellectual stimulation has modest to moderate degree. Individual consideration indicate modest correlation level. From the correlation result, 5 major findings are drawn. Inspiration and motivation is an important factor for implementing ICT, especially ICT used in classroom teaching. This result may indicate that leaders who are equipped with the skills to motivate teachers are effective to promote ICT use in classroom teaching. Second, charisma or idealized influence has different levels of relevance in ICT implementations. It is a weaker component for ICT use in classroom teaching, while it has the highest degree of correlation to funding allocation for ICT training. That can draw two different implications. Firstly, it may imply that ICT use in classroom teaching is more effectively implemented using teacher-driven approaches. Secondly, having a strong commitment to govern school may lead to more funding for ICT training for teachers. Third, leaders perceive teachers' collaboration is an important factor for implementing ICT at school. Previous study, in fact, found that teachers' collaboration is an important opportunity to gain skills for ICT implementation in Mongolia. Fourth, perceived teachers' collaboration is also important for school leaders' funding decision for ICT training, but only if these collaborations are aiming for increasing teachers' capacity. Teachers' collaboration, which focuses merely on sharing end products, may not motivate school leaders to further invest teachers' ICT skills. Fifth, the relevance of the transformational leadership to ICT implementation was supported in Mongolian context. The finding validates literature supporting the relevance of the transformational leadership and the ICT implementation in education sectors. With these findings, the following 2 points are suggested as an implication of this study. First, disseminating understanding of pedagogical value of ICT among school leaders. The findings indicate that the discussion with the teachers about the pedagogical use of ICT is strongly related to perceived use of digital content in teaching. Such discussion can stimulate teachers' creativity. This infers that school leaders need to have a clear understanding of pedagogical value of ICT in teaching. Providing training session for school leaders to understand the pedagogical value of ICT would help promote discussion with teachers at school level. Second, fostering transformational leadership for further ICT implementation. Because transformational leadership are closely related to ICT implementation at school level in Mongolia, this type of leadership may promote integration of ICT in education. Transformational leadership can be learned, therefore, it should be the subject of leadership training. For these reasons, conducting leadership training which foster nature of transformational leadership is suggested. For example, accepting and analyzing followers' view on their leadership performance is crucial to foster transformational quality. Providing counseling sessions to evaluate the discrepancy between leaders and their followers will help improve their leadership quality. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for watching.